Hi guys, welcome to a new tutorial about the orange juice simulation with LiquiGen. And here you see that we have everything done from LiquiGen because today we are going to optimize the fluid setup, export everything in 3ds Max, but soon we'll work also in Unreal to see how to prepare the same scene in Unreal. And you see that we have the fluid, the camera animation that is done again inside 3ds Max. We have the lighting setup. Today we are going also to play with the lighting and a little bit with the materials to start tweaking the final rendering. And then you see that we have the big splash. So it is time to play about it, but I like to show you for example, which is the final output we are going to achieve today. And to do something like that, we go at maybe 70p to see what's going on, but we can double check in real time here. So that's the final look. You see we are playing with the fluid for the splash, we are tweaking the parameters, we are saving two different scenes for the final setup in LiquiGen, and then we are preparing the basic setup in 3ds Max. In the next part we are going to finalize everything, but I like to show you how it looks rendered. You see that it's really nice. We have the scattering that is behaving in a nice way to simulate the orange juice. It is not the final setup about lighting and the look depth, but it is nice to be able to see something that is an high quality at the moment. So that's what we are going to achieve soon for our final animation. Maybe we can also add some details over the battle and stuff like that. So, by the way, let's start playing with the scene and continue working on this really nice fluid simulation series from Nyjo effects. So, let's double check what we have here. Let's go just to have a lower resolution just to make some really simple tests. So you know that's the simulation about the fluid, and then we have also the big splash, so we can start exporting everything. So here you see that we have the emitters for all the stuff we have to do, and here we have the big splash. So let's take care about the initial setup here. So we get to create a new color. So this one we're going to not use it. So let's say that we have another material, and this one is the shaded gray. So we are going to use this one just for test purpose. So we go to connect the second one. Let's say that we pick both and we say fluid shaders. So we know that here we have the materials we can use. So the second one is essentially, let's go for a gray color, and we have no transparency, and we have obviously no let's say no color for the transmission. We have no strength for the absorption, and we have no refraction. So essentially we have just this color here. So I need to see the amount of memory. So let's go to have the stats, and we go to save this one as the number 4. So sorry, this one is the new here, and we go to save in the orange juice part 3. We get to create a new scene folder, and here we go to have the setup number 4. Okay, so we are free to play with the simulation. So I like to go for a lower resolution. Let's try with 008, so a little bit lower than the initial setup. we should have enough memory. The resolution is not bad, but I like to double check about the meshing, so if we can have something that is better. We are going obviously to take care about the meshing to have something nicer in the 3D software. By the way, we go to take the generate SDF on smoothing, so we have a better level of validation about the SDF field. And then let's see if we can have you see, obviously, if you have no SDF smoothing, we can have, let's say that we go for 0 to the ISO value, and if we go to have the smoothing, we are going to obtain a better mesh, but obviously we are losing details. So I like to double check with the simulation if we can have an higher usage of resolution, because let's say that we go to have the initial, let's say that we go for example for 20, 15 and 44. So we're going to use a higher amount of fluid particles, and obviously it will give us a better resolution for our fluid. Let's see just with the particles what we have. See that we have a lot of points, but we are talking about just 2 million particles. Let's go back to have the fluid mesh, and then we try to go higher and go maybe just a little bit lower with the resolution about the voxel size. So we have to tweak the quality to achieve something that is better and better. I think that the fluid is not bad. Let's go to play a little bit with the smoothing. So we are not going to create something so heavy, just a little bit. You see, so we are losing some bending effects. And by the way, you have to remember that we are going to have also the motion blur, because we have the velocity export. So we should have something that works nice. Let's double check if we can have still more particles at the beginning, and the same maybe for the initial one. So let's say 25 here and 20 here. Obviously we have more particles, and maybe we have to take care about a higher amount of particles generally. So I think that the mesh is not bad. We have something that is not bad, and you have to imagine that we're going to use the obviously the velocity to have a nice motion blur effects. So let's see again here about the mesh if it is working. Obviously if we go lower, we are going to have something that is a little bit more precise, and if we go higher, it is going to be smoother. By the way, let's go just a little bit lower, something like that. I think we have something that essentially is not bad. I like just to double check if we have a little bit higher substeps to see if it is going to be higher quality, because this one is the final one, so I like to have something that is really nice. So I think it's something that can work. So I like just to be sure that we have enough particles. So about the voxel, we should have the right amount. Maybe let's go to have a little bit more. And let's say that we have the possibility to use more particles and more triangles, just to be sure that when we go to simulate, we'll have everything done. So we have to export the cache, and let's say that this one is essentially the juice let's go to see what we have inside the folder, because I'm not sure. Okay, I like to double check in the orange folder caches, and we have the juice number 1, so we get to have the number 2. So the 002, sorry, and we have to export the velocity. You have to remember to export this channel, because without this channel you will be not able to render the motion blur. And then we can go to export the mesh. We should have enough parameters to be able to export everything. Okay, so export is done. I like to see what's going on. So let's go to import the stuff we just exported. In the orange caches, we have this one that is less complex than the other one. By the way, I like to double check. Now let's go to have enough frames to see. Okay, 350 obviously was too low. Okay, so that's why. We have to export completely, and just to be sure, I like to see with a Nyjo resolution, let's say 2.7, so it's really low, but it's just to see how much frame we have to export, because I don't remember precisely what we have to do. Okay, let's say maybe 1200 or something like that. Back to be sure that it is exporting in the right way. So we go here and we say that I like to export 1200 and again export, and okay, we can't override because we are using the file inside 3ds Max, so obviously it see that the file is in use. So okay, let's say version number 3 and export. It will take obviously a little bit more. By the way, let's wait. As you can see here, it is clear how much memory we are using, 14 gigabytes. By the way, the number of particles actually is around 5 million, so I think that at the end we can use a lower value for the particles. And about the voxel, same stuff. You see that we are using just the 2% because the higher value is needed for the big splash. So we can go lower to have enough memory to raise up the quality. And the same about the polygons. You see that we are using a really low amount of vertices and triangles. So it's not needed to rise up so much the quality. Okay, by the way, let's wait to have the final ABC so we can double check if it works, and then we can start exporting also the big splash and take care about the scene setup, the basic scene setup. So actually you see that the fluid is gone outside, and it is related to the stuff that we have an higher amount of particles. So mesh is really big. So let's see what happens, because you see that essentially it is obviously adding more fluids really fast. So we have to think about it and say that the fluid will be stopped before. So essentially you see that here is going outside, but we can stop it before. So we can say that maybe around this frame it needs to be stopped. So we have the animation about the camera, and it's not a problem because it's just for pre-beat stuff. But the stuff I like to see is when we have the animation about the emitters. So that's the splash. Here we have the other emitters. So let's go to see everything, and I like to move. Okay, this one is not needed. Okay, we are talking about emitter, 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 and add. So emitter, 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 and add. So this one is active here, and then let's see the main stop for this one and this one. So let's go to give a name. So let's call it internal 1, and this one will be internal 02. So we know that we have to stop both before. So we can pick this one and say that this fluid is stopped at maybe 450. Sorry. This one needs to be moved together with the other one. So let's say that we go for maybe 450, and the same for 450. And then we have the other, and this one is the let's call it internal support. And internal support is enabled here. So here it is enabled, and here it is enabled, and then it's stopped here. So we can do the same. So we can have something that is going to stop around here. And about the add, here it is stopped, then here it is enabled, and then it's stopped. So I say that we can go and move forward, and maybe say that we have something like that. Okay, so we can go for standard visualization, and about the simulation we can go to 2 substeps, apply, and press R. So we are able to see the simulation before it is stopped. So I think we can move forward and have more time to have fluid. So let's say that everything go until, for example, frame let's say 600, and the same for the other, something like that. It needs not to be precise, you know. It needs just to give us the possibility to double check if we have enough fluid, and maybe it works, or maybe we need a little bit more frames to cover internally and to have no problem with the fluid that is going outside of the bottle. So let's wait to have a little bit more frame, and we can go lower with the voxel size because it's just 3% for the moment. So we are going to use less memory. Now it stops, and the fluid should start to stabilize because it is still moving, but you see that it's no more going up. So I think we can move to something like that. So we should have a little bit more fluid, and about the voxel space we can go lower and say 40, and about the particles we can go lower, and about the polygons it's the same. So we are going to use less memory. By the way, let's go to save. We saw the big splash at the beginning, so I think we have to say that this one is starting later, because obviously now the stuff are moving in a different way. So you see that this one is essentially the add, should start later. So let's see if it is enough. Maybe it's still too soon. Now let's see if it should work, because okay, it is still too much visible, and let's say that this one is stopping later. Now we have the pushing from inside, because the fluid is going up faster, because the add is going to give a boost. Okay, let's tweak again the amount and test again. So as you can see, we have still needs to have more fluid, and that's because we are moving the stuff and pushing the stuff out. So you know, obviously we need more time to fill up the fluid. So let's see if in this way it works. So you see that now we have 1200 frames, and fluid is still moving because we have to stabilize also the forces. By the way, I think we can go a little bit higher with this one, and then about the let's see, we can go to have we have the gravity, we have the fluid twister, this one, and the fluid twister has no animation. So if you like, we can activate the animation and say that, for example, it is animated, it is active here, and then when the fluid stops to be emitted, we have no more animation. And the same can be done for this one, and we can say that it is animated. It is stable here because it's active, and then it's stopped here. So in this way, we should have the forces that are deforming the fluid just for the initial animation of the fluid coming inside the bottle. So let's see again if it works. So it seems done. Obviously, I like to double check here, and it seems that it's stopping in the right way. We have some kind of collision about the fluid here, but it should be not a problem because we are going to clean up a little bit the mesh, so it should work in a nice way. By the way, we can, for example, say the forces is stopping before, so we should fix this problem. And now we know that it works and we have enough stuff. When we have two stop steps, we can try to use more. We can go to remove this one, and in the caches we have to remove everything because they are using a lot of memory. By the way, this one is used by 3ds Max, so the best way is to remove 3ds Max and remove this one. Okay, so now we can simulate again with the right resolution and export the GUIs with the number 2 again, because we have no more stuff saved over the cache folder, and export. So it seems that it is working. Obviously, we may need to, to make something to the fluid because it's still not stable at the end. By the way, it is possible that we are going to cut the simulation before because we don't need all the frames we are using actually. So let's try to import the mesh inside 3ds Max. Then we can check everything about the simulation, and then we'll be able to decide if it's okay, and then we can move forward with the splash. So let's go to import the cache we just prepared. Okay, and say that's okay. And about the simulation, let's say that we have 1200 frames. Here we are losing a little bit of density. By the way, it's not a problem because it's something related to the movement. Okay, let's go to add relax modifier because I like to see if we can remove that stuff here. And imagine that we'll have something like that. So we have the fluid that is going, and the mesh seems really nice. And then it's going up. Here we have this volume reducing, but I think it's not a problem because the bottle will be in a different position. Then we have the fluid splashing and going back. I can say that just to be sure, we should create something that is more complex. By the way, let's see if we go with a turbo smooth, it's losing the smooth value. So let's go to try with open subdivision. Okay, we are losing the same. By the way, let's say that we have a smooth modifier. Obviously, I like to create something that can works easily, let's say 75 for the threshold. Okay, and then we try to use the turbo smooth. So that's the turbo smooth. And let's see with the smooth. Okay, it's essentially losing something. So, by the way, we are going to recover the stuff using the relax. So let's say that we have lower value, maybe 35, and imagine that the fluid is at this distance, so it's and then the bubble will be in front of us. So I think it can work. Okay, so we can stay with this setup. And then we'll have the big splash, so it's losing the problem. So we go for this one, so we go to save the scene in the right folder. And let's say orange step V001. Okay, back in the project here, I like to reset, save, and then we go to remove everything, and we go just for the big splash. So R, and this one should work in the right way, I think. Yeah, so let's go in the default value, in the default view. So I think that essentially the timing is right, so we have just to double check if we like to have the gravity for the final simulation. Let's see if we have just 2 substeps, because maybe we can go for something more simple. Let's go to remove the twist. Let's go to remove just for a moment the turbulence, so we have just a big splash. Okay, let's go just to tweak. Just a little bit the position. I like to see how it's creating the splash here. Okay, okay, you see it's going to use the shape force based on the bottle. Let's see if we make a small tweak. Let's go higher. Okay, you see, in this way, obviously it is going really away from the bottle. Maybe we can go a little bit lower. Something like that. So we have just this big splash here, and let's go back to 40 and simulate again. It will be obviously more precise. Okay, you see that in this way it's going to create this kind of effects that it's not so nice because it's breaking but maintaining the fluid together. So it is something that can be done maybe just playing with a surface tension, but we can also just say, okay, let's stay with 2 and apply, and maybe we go a little bit lower with the voxel sides, and we go to simulate again. So we have just the water going away. Let's say that maybe the strength of the drag is a little bit higher, so it's moving slower outside of the bubble. You see, again, it's going to push the fluid outside here, obviously, but we are not using so much simulation. So let's go here again, and let's go lower to 4.5 and simulate again. We have the splash, and now we should have less repulsion, and we have 350 frame, so it should be enough, because we can use a little bit. It's you know, it's not so bad, but I don't want to have so much. So just to be sure, I like to see where is the okay. Maybe we can tweak still a little bit the position, and now we can go in the camera. Okay, it's maybe too much, so let's go for something like that. Okay, I like to see where is the camera. The camera is essentially here. By the way, we can move the camera so we are in the front, and we have a little bit of big pushing away. So another thing I like to do is to use an higher amount of particles, let's say 40. And then we have the big splash gain. Okay, so you see we have a little bit more details. What about the meshing? Let's go near. We have for sure not so much particles. We are going to save this one on a separate project, because we can need some, you know, some different value for the simulation. So something like that will be better. So let's go to save this one as setup version 4 splash version 001. Okay, so that's the one we are going to export, and we are going to export maybe 500 frames, and then we'll see if will be enough. Okay, so about the cache, we have the splash number 1, so we do to use the same naming, but that's the version number 2, and we are going to export maybe 500 frames and save, and we are ready to export also this one, and then we can move forward everything in 3ds Max. If we need to treat the fluid mesh, we'll be back inside the simulation. Okay, so we have not a problem to take care about it. So export. As you can see, we got an error because we reached the maximum amount of voxels, so we have essentially just around 380 frames. So if you like to have more, you have to go back inside here and say that you like to have more voxel, for example 60 millions or 80 millions, so you have enough voxel to simulate everything. By the way, I think we can stay in this way, and we go just to import the splash and see if it works. So let's say, there was a problem. Let's see if it works. Okay, there was essentially the issue about the saving, so we have to go back here and say to be sure that we'll be able to simulate, and then we have to save again. Okay, obviously it is used by 3ds Max, so we can cover. And then we can export again, and this time I think we'll be able to have enough voxel. You see that we are using just 30%. Okay, we have it. It's a really huge splash. Obviously we don't need everything, so I like just to see how it works. Okay, for the moment it's not a problem rename everything. Okay, so that's really huge. So I like to see how it looks because we don't need all the frames we have. Okay, essentially I think we are going to use something like that, maximum. So if we add back the bottle, obviously this one will be later in another moment. So I think that's okay. Okay, so we can move forward with the import inside 3ds Max, and then we can move forward with the import for Unreal, because the next part will be inside Unreal. Okay, let's work more on this scene setup, so we have everything inside the scene. So we have the mesh, and now we can directly import the bottle. We'll have for sure to double check scaling, I think, and stuff like that. By the way, that's the bottle, and we have for sure to tweak the position. Okay, so you see that this one is 0, 0, so we have something related to the position, because I think we moved something, but I have to double check. So let's go again inside LiquiGen, and I like to double check if we done something, because I don't remember. Yeah, we moved something, so let's get you do a snipping of the transform we applied, and we should be able to reapply the same. So let's say that this one is not visible. We go to have the layer, and we go to select the splash, and this one is the splash mesh. Now we go to create an X form. With the X form, we'll be able to move it without moving the mesh. And we try to compensate everything. Let's say that we go for minus 2.689. I'm trying to use the same value we used in the project, and then we go to use this one as okay. No, I think we have to tweak it again. I think essentially we have to use this one in a different way. So let's say that this one is like that, and then we say 362 minus, so let's say minus 3.62, and then let's try to do the same here, but with the plus. No, so it's different, it's not using the same, also because there was a rotation over the x-axis, so we have to take it manually. So let's say that we have something like that, but obviously we have to tweak it. So let's try to find the right position. I'm not sure if we done something wrong inside LiquiGen, so give me 2 minutes to double check. Okay, everything is clear because we rotated the model and it was imported in the wrong way, so we have essentially to make some tweaks manually, and I like, okay, here it is more clear. I try to be precise, but you know, it should be working, I think. Yeah, so we have to do the same with a fluid. So we have to apply this one to this one. Let's go to paste as a standard and not a stencil, because if we need to take care about something, we'll be able to do it. Okay, so this one is the Jewish mesh. Okay, so we have everything. Let's say that this one is a new layer, and we are talking about fluids, and here we have the standard mesh. So let's say that the bottle is not visible, and for the moment we say that this one is off in viewport, so it will be a little bit faster, and the same for this one is off in viewport, so you see that the play is a little bit faster. Okay, this one needs to be tweaked, so I like to essentially change the timing. Okay, so we say that we have a custom start, so we are not using to render here, but let's say maybe later. It is still too soon. Let's say 300. Maybe later, let's say 350. So it's okay, something like that. Okay, so let's go to pick essentially the relax. Let's make a copy and paste. I think it's still not so bad. Maybe we need to use also a turbo smooth just to have something that is smoother. Okay. And we have obviously to see how it moves when we have the motion blur. So we need to recreate the camera animation, obviously. By the way, let's say that we have a camera here, let's say a physical camera. It is not targeted. Okay. And we have no rotation, so we are going to move it manually just this time, because later we'll have to animate again everything. Now we go to move the camera. We go just a little bit low and then rotating locally to have something like that. Then we say that the scene is rendered in HD, and you can say to Shift F, see just the bubble, and then I like to tweak a little bit the camera properties. Okay, let's back the glass bubble, and then we can tweak for sure something, but I like to go still down and still rotate a little bit. Okay, something like that should work. So this one is the cam anim. Okay, so we have the basic setup for the moment for our scene. So we have essentially the fluid that is rising up, and then we have the big splash behind. Okay. So now we have to decide which is the idea about the scene look. So I'm sorry, we are not going to create something so complex, because you know essentially it's just a test to see something that can be done about a scene like this one. So we can, for example, say that we're going to have an environment that essentially is black, and then maybe that's all. So we can say okay, let's go to a V-ray, and we go for a V-ray plane. Okay, and if we go to render, let's go to say that we go to render this one. Obviously we see nothing because we have no lighting. So just for a moment we go for V-ray light, and for a moment we go for a dome. We have to lock the render, to the viewport. So let's say that it's this one, and that's locked. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so we are going to say that we have, for the moment, let's say that this one is the LGT DOM and it's not used, and then we go to have a standard V-Ray light, and it's essentially a plane. Okay, let's say that that's the lighting we have inside the scene for the moment. Yeah, let's go near the ball, and that's really big. So let's say 50, 50, 50. Okay, and it's more in front of the bottle, something like that. We go for something simple at the beginning. Let's go in real time, and that's what we have actually. Okay, so then using this configuration, let's say that we go to save, and here we start to play with the materials. So this one is the glass assigned to this one, and then we go to say that we like to create a new material. We go for a V-Ray material, and then for the moment we can go for a basic glass material, nothing special. Okay, we can stay with this setup, and for the plane, let's say this one is the ground, assign. Then we go for a V-Ray material, and this one is completely black, but we have reflection, and we say that the reflection is glossy, so let's say 8 for the moment. Let's go to move forward. So we start to have the fluid here. Okay, so let's pick this one and assign, and we say that this one is the fluid juice, and we start with a V-Ray material. We can try and see if we have something about it. No, so we can try to play essentially with a V-Ray fast SSS for the moment, and say that we go for the orange juice. We have obviously to take care about it. The first thing, we have to double check the scaling. So we are talking about 19 here, so 3 centimeters can be enough. Okay, let's remove the tape. Light can be higher. Because we are distant, so we have to find the best compromise for the lighting. I like to have a little bit more reflectivity over the ground. Okay, so you see it's glossy, but it's essentially visible enough. We go for something more glossy. And about the glass of the bottle, I think there is something strange over the surface, but we'll see later. For the moment, we go just a little bit down with the glossiness. Okay, so the reflection are not so precise. And about the refraction, we go a little bit lower, and maybe we can also add a refraction color. So let's imagine that this bottle has a color, a little bit of color for the bottle. Okay, so something like that. And we can stay in this way for the moment. So maybe we can have just a little bit of glossiness over the refraction. So sorry. So we can start playing a little bit with the general setup here. Now we have, let's say, to add a little bit of lighting. It is starting okay. Let's see with more lighting over here, and I see no more reflection over the glass, so okay, it works. So let's say that this lighting essentially is not lighting the ground, because I don't want to have reflection or lighting over the ground. So this one is the, I think, okay, this one is the plane, let's call it ground, and this one is the LGT main, so that's the main lighting, and we get to have a second light over there, but it will be a little bit different. So let's say that this one is essentially not working over the reflection, and it's obviously a fill light, so it's lower in energy. Let's say just a little bit of lighting, nothing special. And we say that it's not working over the specularity too, so it's just working over the lighting. That's all. And maybe we can play also with the lighting color. So we go for something that is less cold. Then we play with the material about the orange juice. Let's go to tweak it to something that is less orange. And about the scatter, let's say that it's refractive and it's retraced, so it's more precise, you know. Let's see if we can have something nicer with the scatter GI, but it is too slow, so we go for just the primary lighting. And about the other stuff, I think we can stay in this way. Let's move forward. So it's going to have more orange juice inside the bottle, and that's okay. And about the bottle, maybe we can do some tweaks. And let's say that we have a color for the bottle. Not so dark, obviously. And we also I'm trying to find a nice configuration for the glass. So let's go to have no saturation over the refraction. So we have the pure color we have here, and the same for the fog color. So we have essentially just the right color. Then the pivot is inside, and I like to make a small tweak to the bottle to be sure that it's not going to have the mesh that is going inside here. So let's say over local axis okay, you see it's essentially it is touching the bubble. So we go to add this one maybe just a little bit bigger. Okay, just a little bit, not so much. And about the orange juice, I'd like to see if we go to have a little bit higher scatter radius, how it looks. Then we go to have a small bigger scale for the glass. We have some strange reflection. I think that the model has some kind of problem, but you know, let's don't take care about it for the moment. Then let's get to have another light here. Okay, this one will be bigger. It's not visible. And let's go to work just on the specularity and the reflection, and we go lower, so it's just a little bit. Okay, so to create subtle detail over there. Okay, and I think that the bottle has some kind of problem with the smoothing, maybe. Okay, yeah, we had some kind of problem with the smoothing. So now we have the right smoothing groups. So we can decide if it's too much visible or it is not so much visible. And also something about the position, because I think that the fluid is a little bit in a wrong position. You see, I'm not sure, but we can check it, and it seems clear because you see that there the fluid seems going out a little bit, so we got to move maybe directly the bottle. Okay, now it works better, and maybe we can also move it a little bit. Okay, to have a better quality, and the same will be done for the plane. Okay, now everything should be in the right position. Reflection is okay, and the glass reflection is not bad. Maybe we can pick the light on this side. And maybe we can go to use it just for the specularity. That's all, we have no reflection. Or in the other case, we should go here and use maybe, you know, a little bit of glossiness and we can go lower with the reflectivity. So we can go for maybe something like that, and then it should works in a nice way. We are going also lower with the specularity, just a little bit less. Okay, and about the refraction, let's see if we go a little bit lower, not so much, maybe just a little bit. And I think then that the scaling can be back to be smaller to something like 99.5. So we are near the border, but maybe that's too much because we have the glass here. So we can add the ape to have a nice kind of looking over there. Okay. So again, something about the scatter here. Let's go back to F3, so we have a higher scattering. Okay. And then we can go to check what's going on when we have also the splash. So now it's loading and it's also rendering. Let's finger crossed we have no crash. So obviously it's not in the right color, and we have two ways to do something like that. First of all, can be using the same color we are using for the liquid inside the bottle. So it means that we should go here. It's going slow, so we have to wait. We have it select, and we go to apply the same. So we are giving the same material. And that's not bad. You know, it is nice, essentially. Sorry. So the other idea is also to double check what's going on if we have the motion blur. So I like, first of all, to save the scene. So we have to stop because it's going slower. Okay, save. And then we get to select the camera. And let's go for enable motion blur. This mesh is complex, so it's normal that you know, it takes time to show the stuff. Okay, so now we have the motion blur, but I like to double check just here if it's you know, working in the right way or not. So V-ray properties, sorry, it's the juice fluid. Okay, let's stop because it's really slow in this way. So now it is stopped. V-ray properties, and I like to double check, and to be faster we go to say that we have a gray material, and this one is a standard material, and in V-ray we have the possibility to set the override, and we say to use this material as an instance. Okay, so let's go to render. Now it should render just this piece. It takes time again because we have also the modifier over the mesh, obviously. By the way, let's wait. Okay, finally we have the render. So now we can work on the other stuff. So first of all, the slide is not visible, and then we can go here, pick this one, and tweak the velocity. So let's say that we go lower to 0.1. Let's go to something in the middle because 0.1 was really too low. Let's try with 0.3. One. So let's go to tweak, sorry, the motion blur duration, and let's see, maybe 0.05. Okay. And stop. And let's see, for example, at this time, how it looks. Okay, maybe we can rise up just a little bit to 0.1 and render. Okay. It seems not bad. Let's try with the relax and the tube of smooth. Let's double check what's going on. Okay, there is a problem with the turbo smooth. We'll see later if we have still problem with it. By the way, if we go back in V-Ray and we go to remove the material override, it is time to check how it is looking. So you see that it's going to be really nice. So let's go to add back also the juice inside the bottle. Then we can render. Okay, it seems nice. It seems working. So I think we can move forward with something like that. Maybe there is something we can do, because you see we have essentially here a really high specularity over this orange juice there. So we can create a clone, and this one is the splash juice. And over the splash juice, we go to have a lower amount of specularity. So we go lower to something like, you know, maybe 0.2, and we go to have a little bit of glossiness, just a little bit. Then we try to render again, and we should have less white spots over the fluid. Then we have to go back at the beginning to see how the fluid is behaving in rendering when we have the initial fluid coming inside, because the bottle will be not visible. We have to finalize the animation here to have it not visible. So I think it is still too much. So let's say that the amount is really low, and here we go higher with the glossiness, so it will be less present over the fluid. Let's see now. Okay, you see now it's less visible than before, maybe just a little bit. No, because we never assigned, sorry, it was my fault. I was sure it was assigned to the mesh, sorry. We were using still the initial setup for the orange juice that is inside the bottle, sorry. So my mistake. Now we can see how much it's visible in this way. I think it will be not so much, obviously. It is still really high. So I think I will go lower, and we go for something that is more similar to the color of the surface. Okay, it's still too much, so we'll take care about it because it's really too much visible, and I don't want to have something like that. So let's go to remove this one to be faster in rendering. See, it's this area where we have a lot of specularity. So the idea is to try to remove it. So let's try to, because it's going really near the light, you know, that's essentially the problem. So let's see what happens if we have no specularity at all, because at the beginning it works, but obviously also the diffuse is going really up. That's the main problem. So let's say that we can have essentially a different lighting. So let's say that the splash is not in this light, and same for this one. So let's go in real time. Obviously now the lighting is coming just from behind, from this lighting here. So it's picking just the reflection and the specularity from the bottle, essentially. I have to double check to be sure. Now it's this light, so it is strange because it's picking the lighting there. So let's do in a different way. Let's say that both are here, and we are going to light just the bottle and just the juice mesh. Let's go to select the camera because we have to be faster in rendering. Okay, that's the rendering without the speed. I like to find also a better look for this fluid here. And here we can go back to have the same lighting condition we had before, because it's not needed to work on this way. Okay, and generally now it's working better than before. Let's see if we have back this light. Okay, now obviously it's really high. Okay, and then back with the juice. It is not bad. Okay, so then later we can think about the motion blur, because I think we can have the mesh in this way and use directly the motion blur. So let's try to add it. So camera, add back the motion blur, and then we can pick this one and go lower again with the motion blur and say to 0.035. Because I don't want to have so much motion blur over the splash behind, just a little bit, you know. Okay, you see, it seems better than before. We have an higher specularity here and a lower specularity over here, with a little bit of reflection and refraction. So it is nice. The last thing, let's go to save and say that this one is not visible, and for the moment the bottle is not visible because we have to check how it is looking at the beginning. So let's say that we like to see the bottle, let's say at frame 300 for the moment. Then we can obviously change it. By the way, we go to create a frame, a keyframe, and then we go to move the camera to something like that, and we go also to rotate the camera, and we should have the fluid that is forming. So let's say that the frame is still, and then it's going to move. But let's move keyframe by keyframe, moving locally. We go a little bit more distant to something like that. So we see something like that. And maybe we have the camera that is still frame here, and then it's starting to move, but let's say that here the rotation is animated, so we should have something like the fluid is coming inside, we start to move, we'll see in the middle the fluid, then we slow down and we see the fluid rising up, and then we'll have the big splash. So we can have back this one. The bottle is transparent, so obviously it's not visible in the viewport, so you see that it's moving and the fluid is there, and then we'll have also the big splash that comes here. Okay, so it is done. So we are ready to continue working here. We have to finalize the setup, and then we have to render it, tweak maybe the compositing, add some kind of effects and stuff like that. So it is near to be ready. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk more about the orange juice with LiquiGen in 3ds Max really soon. Bye.